right? And what I saw a lot was people who weren't really using their body to put themselves in a position. Instead, were moving their hands to put them in a position. And that's a problem. The reason is if I just go like this, all right, and then I stand up, and then I drop back down, look where my sword came to, right? It's not super threatening, all right? And that's because you're cheating by trying to move your sword instead of using your body. Instead, I move my body for this first fake, okay? Well now, I'm not even gonna fake. This is where my sword actually is, right? I just stood straight up from where my sword was. So now, because of that, when I fake here and I stand back up, this is a much more threatening target than if I try to go and stand up like this and drop back down. Does that make sense? So having your hands higher and in the correct position brings a much more threatening top shot. Because when I stand up, my sword goes up like I can actually hit him. Okay?
And you're still primed for a shot. You're still ready to swing from that position too. So no matter what, you can hit any target that opens. So you're not stuck on that double fake. You can go to any fake after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Good call. Thank you. Because if you do have it lower, then you are, exactly, you're sold for that. Because if I go like this and this, well, guess what? This is going to come here or maybe like this, right?
That's all it's got.
If I go, I can throw around into there. I go and drop down there, right? I put my sword in a position to actually throw. All right? And that's, yeah, I keep my sword in position to throw. And that's really important, right? It's really important, and that's why we don't like to arm things. We don't do this. It is with our body, because all of this stuff adds together to be so much more effective in combat. Whether it be the fact that it looks better, it puts me in a better position, it puts them in a worse position, I'm able to move out of what I'm doing and transfer into something else seamlessly because I have my sword as though I was going to in guard, right? I have my sword like I can throw anywhere, all right? And something I've taught in previous classes, I might say it, was the idea of keeping your shape. I didn't like it because it made people a little too rigid, right? If I would tell people, keep your shape here, I had a lot of people go like, okay. And so I kind of stopped doing it because people were taking it too strong, but keep that in your mind, right? I don't want you to be rigid about it, but keep that in your mind. Keep this shape here. Well, from here, I can do pretty much anything. I can come back across to there because my sword's in the right position to throw any shot that I know how to throw, right? Okay. So for the last one, we're going to go into a bait. All right? Oh, we might do 2 baits. I don't really know. We'll decide. Where's my bait? There it is. So, we'll start with one that I call the modified dark side. A lot of people out there throw a really good dark side, but these days, also because the dark side became such a big thing to counter the high cross, a lot of people just naturally know this, right? They see it coming and they're able to block it, right? So I have a couple friends who throw a real good dark side. Like Brennan can still throw one and land it. Jay Lee, a guy I train with all the time, throws probably the meanest dark side in the game. It's blindingly fast and extremely practical, but I can't do it, right? I can't do Jay Lee's. I don't have the power and speed that he does with it. I can't do Brennan's. It's weird and loopy and doesn't make sense to my arm the way it works. So I had to find my own way to do it, right? Because I used to love it, and then people knew how to block it and it was gone. And so this is where we're going to move into the face idea of bait, right? So the way I do this is, can someone tell me what's the greatness of a dark side? Right, he's helping you out. Counter the high cross, right? That is what it does. And in a game where a lot of people like to high cross, if I can learn to do that well, that is an absolute dead natural counter. And if you don't know that, then you just learned something extremely important, okay? Extremely important. Someone high crosses a lot, dark side equals they die. All right? You have someone who just loves the high cross, boom, every time. It is just the natural counter, okay? So that means, in order for them to do this, what do I want them to do? High cross, exactly. Now, so many people have seen this dark side now that this often doesn't get it, right? They go like this and they're like, oh, no. I've seen that shot before. So I modified it into a bait, okay? And it works great for me, all right? And so here's what I like to do. This is once again, remember, I gotta sell this shot, okay? So I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna pretend like I'm hitting him in the hip with a money shot. But I'm gonna purposely land short so that I can keep some distance, and I'm purposely going to hit him in the shield, right? It doesn't matter, right? So I'm gonna do this. That's my fake, all right? Now look at what he's seeing. And people are so used to the money shot that they know that it's not, that's just a shot, right? People see that shot and go like, yeah, oh, look at that. So what I do, and because it's a bait, you can actually stall this a little bit. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go, huh? And when he goes, I'm just gonna throw right back in. So once again, here. Does that make sense?
You do it one more time.
So here, I'm gonna do it slow real quick. So I'm gonna throw here. So where my shield is, and now if you're fighting shield foot forward, this is more of a sword foot forward thing. If you're fighting shield foot forward, it still works. You just have to extend your body a little bit more because you want to give them that, right? If I come up against most fighters and throw like this, they're gonna naturally think that they want to throw across to my shoulder, right? It's what I'm opening up. Now, if I'm the one who's knowing that I'm opening it up, though, I can be a little bit faster with it, right? Because I know where they're going to block. So the importance of this is, first of all, make sure that you're using your body to throw it, because if you cheat it and use your arm, what happens is your shield moves farther out of the way. And now I'm having to pull my shield back across. And that's because I cheated and used my arm, right? If instead I use my body to put myself in position, what is it? Boom. All right. Now my shield is still right there, but I've given him the target, right? So body into position, and then we're going to throw up like that. Does that make sense? Any questions before we start?
I think Bino needs a full rundown of everything to just
Get out of my class. No. All right. So let's go into it then, all right? We want to work on it. Remember, body sells the shot. Everything needs to look real. If it doesn't look real, then it looks like a fake, and things that look like a fake aren't effective. Just left in class, but then we have like a 30-minute period that if class goes over, we are allowed to still teach, and if y'all get bored, just leave, right? So what do y'all want to do right now? Do y'all want to work on one more bait and then move into stuff, or would you like to move into starting to develop your own stuff to your opponent now? We probably have time for it all. We probably have time to go over one more bait if y'all would like.
We
so
gave
that
them
I'm
two
just giving
baits.
something to you.
We
What?
gave them two baits. Give them two baits.
Okay, I'll give you two baits.
Yeah.
Y'all are gonna struggle with it with your giant shields.
Don't let the peasants choose for themselves.
Okay. All right, so here we go. In fact, this will go straight off my first thing. All right. So this is my favorite in-close combo, right? It's a combo, but it's absolutely a bait, and you have to see it as one, right? So, and it's very similar in many ways, right? But it's completely different in other ways, right? So we went over this shot right here, right? Where I pump here and then throw there, right? So that has netted me a ton of kills, right? The only problem is every now and then you get people who are very arm seeker happy, and you might lose your arm to it, right? I go here and I get it cut off, right? And the other problem is sometimes people learn to block it, right? And if someone learns both of those things, suddenly they've blocked my shot and I've lost an arm, right? So I've started to develop, I developed another way of dealing with that when people do that. And the idea behind it is very simple. Like if I'm going up against someone who's just really not good, I know they're not going to throw my fake. I'm just going to just hit them, right? It's not that big a problem. But when I'm starting to fight people who are really starting to learn and adapting to it,
Left-handed.
yeah, you had to figure out a way that you start learning. They're going to throw for my arm after that, right? Because it's the only thing that makes sense. If I'm sitting here and I go this is the only thing that makes sense, right? So they're crossing to my arm, What beats across to my arm? Dark side. We just went over it, right? So, this is how I'm going to do it. Now, this is a bait, but this is a bait off of a real shot, okay? And you can do that as you start developing your game. I'm going to throw this fake, and the only difference is when I throw this, I'm going to let it come a little farther outside. That still hit him, but that was perfect. That's exactly where I want to be, so that if it doesn't hit him, I go and come straight through, right? So, that's all I'm going to do. Does that make sense? And now the idea behind this is it's almost just a J shot, right? Or a dark side. Came from a different game, right? It's almost just doing this. But people know what that is. Now I'm developing it off of a shot that is mine, that is effective. And I am now developing it to counter the counter for the shot that is mine and is effective, right? Does that make sense? And this is how, as you learn this stuff, your game kind of snowballs on top of itself, right? So now, I had this sweet shot, it was killing everyone, and then people started learning, oh, hit him there. Now I'm like, oh yeah, watch this. All right? And that first shot is still there. If he does not block that, I'm gonna go. That is actually a shot. I'm just bringing it outside now, so I can go over and around. Make sense?
So you're tagging the shield on the way around?
Yeah, here. Step forward. I'm not only tagging the shield, if you don't block it, I will kill you. Right? So like lower it a little bit so that I can actually see your shoulder, and I'll throw it with your shoulder there, right? I go like this. So, right here.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense? So I'm hitting, I'm then just carrying straight through into the next shot.
Okay, cool.
Because I know what I'm leaving open with my shot. I'm only leaving one thing. Now, if you want to, once you kind of get this down, the last step of it, if you really want to get it effective, is step off line with your back foot and through. This is a little bit harder to do when you're practicing it, but if you kind of feel good about it, you can kind of mess around with it. So what I'm doing is I'm throwing here, and I'm doing this. All right? And that's sort of the idea of he's crossing, and you're moving offline and through him, and he's in a completely wrong spot now. Make sense? Right? So I'm here. So I've moved myself to an even better position and him into even a worse one, all off of a shot that I developed that worked real well, that the other person learned to counter, that then I learned to counter, his counter to my shot, right?
So you countered the counter of the counter of the counter.
Pretty much, right?
Go deeper.
Counterception.
So let's look at that real quick. Let's mess around with that, and then we're going to go into some other stuff that's fun, a little more theory-based, right? And the ideology behind it all.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm actually a great fun, so bring it back in. So you want to come back over here, guys? All right, guys. So now what I really want to talk about is now start going into more of the theory phase of faking. Because the idea is I can show you the fakes that work for me. I can show you the baits that work for me. But if I show you a bait off of some shot I do well, who knows if it's going to work for y'all, because y'all might not do that shot well. People might not see it the same way. Maybe my body movement, however I throw this shot, makes them want to throw into my arm, and you can't mimic my body motion, and so they don't throw into your arm. Or maybe my body motion, or how I do it, or how many times I throw the shot really sells one of my fakes that I can show you and can tell you what works for me all day. And if you want to come by and ask me later, I can show you some more individual fakes if that's what you want. But the most important thing is to start learning what works for you, right? Because you'll quickly find, and once you find one thing that works for you, you can use that to make two things that work for you. And once you can get two things to work for you, you might be able to get a third to work for you. And if you've gotten three things to work for you successfully in one fight, you might be in their head enough that everything can work for you then, right? I can't tell you how many times someone comes up and he's got a tight guard and I fake him just enough to get under his shield and hit him with a money shot. He's like, oh, good shot. He comes back. And I fake him just enough to get under his shield and get a money shot twice. And he's like, like, okay, that's not happening again. So then I fake that money shot, go straight to board side shoulder, and now he's like, fuck! I don't know what to do. And now in his head, this is all he's thinking. I'm gonna block whatever it is. I'm gonna block it this time. And then he's like, no, good, yeah, ah! And he moves everything like crazy because he just wants to block it. And I won 3 times, but now I'm in his head for the rest of the fucking night because he's like, this dude fakes so good. He's just gonna hit me. He's just gonna hit me. What do I do? And you start feeling stupid, right?
If that happens to you, if you get in that position, step back. Anytime that he goes to throw a shot, if he fakes me out, now he's in my head, I'm just gonna step back. My guard is still there. I'm not worried about it. I am now safe. Then I can rethink it. Now I go into it. All right, I'm a little bit better now. He didn't get that first shot. I'm confident.
See how they
Right.
approach.
Yeah. Different.
Yeah, I know. I'm understanding how you understand.
Yeah, you get vision. It's a great way to counter it. But most people don't. You know, until you get the real good fighters.
Just
So,
step back. That's my secret.
developing your own game of fakes is actually extremely fun and rewarding. Right? You can go out there and be a combo badass and you can look really impressive. And a lot of you would be like, man, that motherfucker can sling some wood, right? Yeah. But if you can get into someone's head where that person walks up, you just one shot them and keep walking like they weren't even there, right? That's where it's amazing, right? It's just beautiful when you can just walk up there and be like, oh, goddamn. And then just keep walking, right? Beautiful. I know, right?
You got that guy. You got that guy. I didn't see it coming.
But, so, when developing your own fakes, I think the most important thing is everyone does something good. Now, it doesn't matter how bad you are. You could be first day. You have whatever you do the best. Now, what you do the best might be utter shit. But it doesn't change the fact that it's what you do the best. All right? And what you do the best is the best place to go when starting to develop your own fakes. Right? The idea is, say, I'm an average fighter, but I got a mean shoulder rep, right? My money's kind of shit. I don't have much other, but man, I can really throw a good shoulder rep, right? Well, then realize that your opponent probably respects your shoulder rep more than anyone else, right? Because it's the one shot you throw well, okay? And so build off of that, right? If you're a day 2 newbie, right, and you got noobs at your park you want to tell to do stuff, all they know how to do is to dive for the ankle, right? Well, guess what? That's probably the shot people will respect the most from him, right? So we can build a fake off that. He goes like that, and I do this, and if you can show them, oh, if you can drop down and pretend like you're going to swing for the legs, they'll open their shoulder up. Oh, right? Because that's going to be a very respectable shot from someone who does nothing but swings at legs. I am going to be ready for this dude to hit me in the ankle. I am going to try to stop it. And I might die because of it, right? And that is probably the best starting point, right? So, and it's whatever. For example, my entire game is built off the money shot. My entire game was built off the money shot. I learned the money shot real well. Back when it was just starting to like really cross over into all the games and everyone was starting to throw it, I threw it really fucking good. And in most, right? Most events, 90% of the people that I fought, I just threw the money shot and kept walking, right? But people get used to that. And you find that now I have this amazing money shot, so now suddenly I go into the shoulder, right? Because everyone respects my money shot, the shoulder was open. Then once they realize that I can do that, then you kind of go like money shot and I come up to the shoulder and then I money shot, right? And now they're getting really confused. And now I'm like, now a money shot, come up to the shoulder, hit him in the hip. And it's in their head. They're not really sure what I'm going to do. But it's all developed off of what you do best, right? I can sit here and show you the money shot to shoulder fake. But if you throw a shit money shot, it's probably not going to work for you, right? I have a pretty shitty ass wrap. So most people don't fall for a single throw, for a single fake to the ass if I do it. These people are like, they just never see it, at least the high end. I don't throw a good ass wrap. I just don't. And so that's not a good place for me to go to and try to build a game off of, right? So build something off of your game. All right. So next we want to go to, once you've started developing your own game, the most important part of fakes is tailoring it to your opponent, right? I am not going to throw the high cross fake if someone automatically swings from my legs. Or on a rogue. A rogue doesn't high cross, right? Well, some of them do these days. Old rogues didn't high cross, right? So I don't throw a high cross fade. I don't throw this modified dark side on someone who's not going to do anything. I don't throw this modified dark side on a, for instance, on a Florentiner who automatically throws with his left hand. Now there are Florentine fighters that still love to high cross, and I can do it all day. I'm like, what's up? And they cross over with both, and I just hit them and keep walking, right? You have to understand your opponents, okay? And I want to go over real quick. That starts very basic with, you can start seeing your opponent and what will work off of stance alone, right? That's the beginning. Here, Picnic, how about you step up here real quick? Y'all might want to get to that side. All right? Stand right here. All right? And I want to get you to get in a basic state, right? Your stance when you're fighting. Okay. So when you look at him, you can start telling things about how I can fake, right? So first of all, in his basic stance, tell me, any of y'all see anything that y'all think is open? Like what do y'all see is
Tummy Tom.
his guard's high, so you can see the tummy and the butt, right? Okay.
And his wiener.
And his
God,
wiener,
that
right?
spot hurts.
So now we've got the idea that this is open. Now does that mean that I just get to hit it? No, he probably knows it's open, right? It's his guard, he knows what he's doing. But it gives me two things to think about, right? First of all, I know that I don't have to get much of a wrap. I can just hit him if I can get him not to move. So maybe all I really need to do is do something that freezes him, right? I don't need to fake him if I'm going here. I just need to hold him. So maybe with him, because his guard's so high, I can just kind of, because that first one might be able to freeze him enough I can get under. I don't need as much. Maybe I need to just throw a quick cross right there and then throw under, right? Just something so he doesn't move his guard, okay? So that's an idea that I get from watching him. But an even more important idea is, so we all agree that his ass and tummy are open if he doesn't move to guard them, right? So what are we guaranteed he's going to do if we fake it? He's got to move. He has to move his shield. It's not something that he can say, I'm just going to keep my strong guard and ignore you. He has no choice, because if he doesn't move, we just hit him. So we know if I fake down here, his shield must come down. It must, or he dies. Okay? Same thing. If I fake over here, something must come down or over. All right? Does that make sense? So we're going to move on a little bit farther into basically tailoring it to your opponent. And this also goes into failure, right? The idea of, if I, for instance, I know that he's got to move, right? Tell you what, I'm going to try to freeze him. That's my idea, right? I'm going to freeze him. So I go like this, and I throw, and he blocks, okay? And he blocks it good. Now, is that a failed shot? Maybe, kind of, but more importantly, it gives me a ton of information. It gives me multiple things. Let's say I threw this, boom, he didn't move his shield at all to when I moved, and then he blocked when I hit, right? So number one, he's not buying what I'm selling, he's not freezing, and he's definitely not moving his shield in a good way. So number one, he's not buying the fake. That's important for me to know. That could mean a lot of things. Maybe he's not good enough to see how quickly I use my fake, and he didn't see it. Maybe he needs to see something like, you know, so it's way overhand and he needs to see it. Maybe he just wants me to use more motion and he's not scared if I just twitch up. He wants to see something good, and I can play with that, all right? So now I'm going into it knowing my opponent, at the very least, does not respect what I did as a fake. So so I can start learning why, right? Now the second part of the equation.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Yes.
Different skill levels are this way. He touched on it minutely. Different skill levels see stuff differently. Like, I could take a 6-month newbie, and my flourishes have to be real wide to get them to block it, because that's the capacity that they can see it. You know, like he was saying, just this little juke, some people don't see it at that level. So the different skill levels, definitely something that you might want to take into consideration too. You walk up on some fucking scrub in pants and a shirt, he's probably not going to notice just little twitches. He's going to notice, you know, you're doing this. He's going to go, oh shit, I see that. Yeah.
Do you see some type of like bell curve scenario on that? So like you have like a really new person, you have to do these crazy fakes, and as people get better, they start responding to the twitchy stuff, and then eventually like a better fighter doesn't respond to the twitchy stuff more, and you have to start going with bigger stuff.
A little bit. You still have to make it more crisp with the better fighters. It is true that to sell him on a fake, he won't take the twitch, and I have to maybe give my full shoulder and stuff like we were talking today.
Everything has to come together.
Really fake like that, right? Give it my whole body. But it's still not the same as a noob, because a noob, instead, I would do something like, you know, like you have to kind of make it a little retarded, right? A little just ridiculous looking if you actually know how to fight, because you got to remember they don't. So they don't know, like, if you just go like, boom, real quick, they're like, and they just hide, right? You need to give them time to be like, where do you think this is coming? Right? That's a fake that they can see, right? They saw this, oh my God, and then it comes straight around, right?
Moving
to a
my
quick fake.
speed.
Yeah, exactly. But going back into it, so we've got that he didn't respect my fake, right? That's one bit of information we got, okay? Which goes straight into now I can start figuring out what he needs to see, all right? And maybe it is, maybe like you said, he's too good of a fighter to take that twitch, and I gotta give a little more body, a little bit more, really make it feel like it's coming, right? I didn't give him enough. The second thing we learned is, so once again, I'm gonna throw here and I want you to block it, okay? Okay. So, now then, this was extremely important to me because I just learned what he does when I throw the shot, right? Yeah. Most people will say, oh, he blocked it, right? He blocked with his sword by dropping it. He actually dipped his tip out, which isn't the best thing, which means I can probably go over and hit him in the shoulder if he does that same thing, right? I also know now that he likes to block with the sword, which means I'm going to have to do a few different things. But the idea is if now I can figure out how to get my fake a little bit better and move that shield, I also know that his shield will move this way, his sword will move this way, and it'll create this slot. Okay? It's all kind of like, it all falls into, I've learned something. I might not be able to throw the fake that I wanted, but y'all guys are smart guys. If I walk up and see him go like this and drop his sword to block it, then I'm going to be like, I wonder. And I'm going to go like this, I'm going to drop it over and throw right there, right? Because that's what he's doing. We're developing it, we're tailoring it to him. Does that make sense? On the other side, if I throw right here and he doesn't fake it all, and I go here and he blocks with a shield, well, that's real good information, right? And a lot of people are going to do that. Him's probably going to do it if it's not, slow motion and he knows what he's supposed to do, so he's blocking it correctly to look good, right? So now, if I see, hey, this fake didn't work, but he blocked with his shield, oh, that's money information, right? That is amazing. I know he's going to drop his shield if I throw that shot. So once again, this is why it's so important our fakes look like the shots we want to throw, right? That's why these little pumps and moving your sword is not good, because I need to show him the exact same thing he just saw, right? Well, and then his shoulder is mine, right? So it's information off of failure, but failure isn't failure. Failure is just information, all right? We can use that information to develop a more holistic picture of who we're fighting, because it's not my shots. It's not what I do that kills him. It's what he does that kills him, right? I swing my sword at him, that's really not the thing that kills him. It's him not blocking it. It's his shoulder being where my sword is the reason he died. So he is just as important in the equation, if not more important, than what I do. Now, of course, you're going to find tons of people have similar tendencies. One shot is going to work on 50 people because all of us fight the same game. We've all fought the same game the same way, very similar. There's always similarities, so certain things are always going to work. This shot right here, 90% of the people are going to return with a high cross if I give them my arm, because that's the game we play. But it doesn't mean that I can just say 100%. And it's not that if I do this and it doesn't return, it's not a failure. It's just further understanding who my opponent is and what makes him tick, right? Does that make sense? Get back there, I want to get someone else. Someone step up here real quick. This guy wants to step up with the giant shield. All right. So I want you to get in the guard, right? So you fight me. All right. Here, let's stand a little more straight. So this is how you fight me. Okay. So stay there. What do y'all guys see?
His dick's open.
His dick is very open.
His front leg is locked straight.
It's not. It's
weird
bent.
pants.
It's weird pants. It's definitely bent. No, it is bent. But anyway.
Arm's fairly far out.
He does pull it fairly far out, which means that basically he's selling a lot of his guard over here, right? And he's opening a lot of this and this, right? By not blocking it too much. Fair? Does that make sense? So what does that tell us? We already went over it with Picnic. What does it tell us? He's got to move to block there, right? There's no world in which I do this that he either dies or he must move to block it, right? Because it's a totally open location. So I know he must move to block it or die. And then what's the other thing? Is that if I'm able to freeze him, do some sort of fake that just moves his sword, I just need to fake him enough that his shield doesn't go that direction, right? I don't need it to go anywhere else. I just need it to not go that way. It can go any other direction. I don't care. As long as it doesn't go that way, he dies. Okay? So those are two really big things. It lets me know that if I can step offside here, that might be enough because I might be getting low enough that I've threatened his ass. Right?
Oh, you threatened it.
Oh, yeah. Okay? So it threatened his ass. Now, the other thing is, like we talked about, because we know he must move to this, I'm able to know that from right here, that shoulder's kind of open, right? I can